Imagine. You wake before the sun, though the world is already awake. The air is sharp and alive. It carries the scent of pine resin and cold river mist, and the faint smoke of last night's fire. Somewhere close, a child stirs in a deerskin blanket. Somewhere farther off, a dog shakes the frost from its fur. The earth itself seems to hum beneath you, steady and ancient, like the slow heartbeat of something vast that never sleeps. You draw a breath, the first breath of the day, and it tastes like wood smoke and snow. This is the morning of the people of the land. Before the world was cut into maps and borders, before metal scraped the soil and fences divided the horizon, this land breathed in rhythm with its people. The forests, the plains, the rivers, all were kin, not property. Here, every dawn was both a gift and a responsibility. The first fire stirs in the village. A column of smoke rises straight into the pale sky, curling like a whispered prayer. The fire never truly died. It was banked carefully through the night, tended by hands that understood its moods. You can hear the faint crackle as the embers wake again. A woman crouches beside it, her fingers quick and practiced, feeding twigs and bark until the flames leap higher. Her eyes reflect the firelight, patient, calm, certain. Around her, the village begins to move. Lodges and longhouses stir with quiet sound, a cough, a rustle, the soft thud of bare feet on packed earth. The world here does not wake with alarm bells or the glow of screens, but with rhythm. The rhythm of life returning, steady as breath. You step outside. The horizon glows in a deep band of amber, spilling light across the trees. A thin mist curls above the river, and the first birds cut through it with their songs, high, clear, and unhurried. The people listen, because every morning begins by listening. To the wind, to the water, to what the forest says today. It's not superstition, it's survival. The sound of the wind in the trees can tell you what the weather will bring. The song of the birds can warn you of a coming storm, or of quiet peace. Imagine growing up knowing this language of the world, the grammar of rain and stone. The air smells of cedar smoke and damp earth. The lodges stand in a loose circle, their roofs curved from bark or hide, shaped by hands that have known this craft for generations. Each one faces east, toward the rising sun, not for luck, but for balance. The sun is the day's first teacher, and to face it is to show respect. A small boy, not more than 6 winters old, crouches beside his mother, helping feed the morning fire. His fingers are clumsy, his eyes intent. She doesn't speak, not yet. In this way, he learns, by watching. By listening to how the sticks catch, how the smoke shifts, how the sparks behave. In this world, knowledge isn't written in books. It's carried in gestures, in patience, in repetition. Nearby, an elder steps out from his lodge. His hair is silver, his face a map of years and weather. He stands for a long time, silent, facing the dawn. His breath turns to mist in the cold air. He raises one hand, palm open to the horizon. It's a simple movement, yet it carries the weight of centuries, a greeting, a promise, a remembrance. The village dogs trot around his legs, tails low and wagging. They're not pets. They're companions, guards, hunters. They've learned the same silence their people keep. Even they seem to listen to the forest. The first sound of work begins, the rhythm of stone against wood as someone sharpens a tool, the creak of a bough being bent and tested, the muffled thump of someone grinding corn inside a bark-walled house. There's a soft laughter somewhere, a cluster of women teasing one another as they start the morning's labor. Their voices mix with the low cooing of pigeons roosting on the roof beams. The smell of roasting maize drifts through the cool air, warm and comforting. In this place, morning isn't a rush. It's a ceremony. Every motion, the stirring of ash, the fetching of water, the tying of a moccasin, is part of a rhythm that stretches back thousands of dawns. You can feel it in your chest, like a heartbeat that isn't entirely your own. You walk toward the river. The ground is soft with last night's dew, and your footprints darken the soil. Mist clings low over the water, silver in the slanting light. You kneel beside it, scoop a handful, and let it run over your palms. It's colder than you expect. You lift it to your lips, and even if this is only imagination, even if you're merely watching through the lens of time, it feels sacred. Because here, every first drink of the day is more than thirst. It's a prayer to balance, a recognition that life itself flows through this water, through you, through everything. Behind you, the village comes alive in earnest. The hunters are preparing, checking their arrows, whispering to one another. Their voices are low, careful not to disturb the morning stillness. The women gather near the central fire, weaving baskets, grinding grain, sharing quiet talk that drifts through the air like song. The children chase each other through the frost, their laughter echoing against the trees. There's work to do, always, but there's no sense of hurry. The people move with the pace of the earth, not against it. Time here isn't ruled by clocks, but by the sun, the wind, the needs of the living world. The rhythm of morning stretches long and slow. You notice the details. The glint of beadwork on a woman's dress as she moves, the soft rattle of shells tied around her ankles, the smell of tanned hide hanging from a drying rack. The texture of the world is vivid, tactile, full. When the first rays of sun finally break over the treeline, the whole village pauses. Faces turn toward the light. Some whisper a few words. Others stand silent. The sun climbs, golden and patient, washing everything in warmth. A child leans into her grandmother's side. The elder smiles and murmurs something about the sun being a living being, an old one who sees all and remembers all. The child looks up, eyes wide, believing. And maybe, just for this moment, you believe too. Because in this village, the world isn't divided between spirit and soil. The land, the animals, the rivers, the people, all are part of the same breath. Every sunrise isn't just another day beginning. It's creation renewed. You feel it, the hum beneath your feet, the pulse of the earth answering the light. Soon, the men will leave for the forest. The women will gather seeds. The day will unfold in the rhythm of necessity and care. But right now, the world holds still, balanced perfectly on the edge between night and day. And in that quiet balance, you begin to understand something simple and profound. These people don't live on the land. They live with it. The fire crackles. The river whispers. The sun rises higher. And the day begins. The morning grows warmer. Smoke rises from the village hearths and pale, twisting ribbons, lifting prayers into the clear blue sky. The mist has burned away from the river, leaving its surface smooth as glass. You can hear the world awakening now, the rustle of leaves as the wind glides through the trees, the croak of frogs in the shallows, the sharp cry of a hawk circling high above. The elder stands near the fire, his voice carrying softly as he speaks to the younger ones gathered around him. You can't understand all his words, but his tone is the sound of patience itself, like water smoothing stone. His hand traces slow shapes in the air as he speaks, a line for the horizon, a curve for the river, a spiral for the path of the sun. The children listen, still as carved wood. This, here, is how memory survives, not in ink, but in breath. He speaks of the people, his people, and of others beyond the forest. He names them as if he's calling friends, the Cherokee of the southern mountains, whose songs rise with the mist and echo through the ridges, the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, who live where lakes mirror the sky, their long houses like spines of great beasts resting in the valleys, the Lakota and Dakota, whose horses move like the wind across the plains, the Apache, fierce and clever, the desert their teacher, the Ojibwe, who follow the waters north, where the rivers meet the stars. He says each people were shaped by the land itself, and in return, they shaped the land with care. The plains taught speed and vision. The forests taught patience. The mountains taught endurance. The desert taught silence. Everywhere, the earth spoke a different dialect, and the people learned to listen. Imagine it, hundreds of nations, each bound not by borders but by belonging. There are no fences, no deeds, no papers signed with ink and law. The river belongs to the fish. The mountain belongs to the wind. The land belongs to all who respect it, and to none who would own it. You follow the elder's words in your mind, tracing them like the flow of the river itself. His face glows amber in the firelight, the wrinkles deep as the bark of an old cedar. He says something the children already know but still love to hear. We do not walk upon this earth as masters, but as guests. The land remembers those who forget that. A girl beside you repeats it softly under her breath, as if the words might vanish if not carried forward. The people around you move with an ease that comes from generations of understanding where they stand in the great circle. To live here means to know not only the path through the forest but the reason the path exists. To hunt is not to conquer, but to take part in a promise. To plant is not to command the soil, but to ask its permission. Farther away, the hunters gather near the edge of the clearing. You can hear them talking quietly, planning their route. Their faces are painted with earth and ash, not decoration, but meaning. Each mark holds a prayer or a memory, a child's birth, a father's teaching, a storm survived. They carry bows and quivers, the shafts fletched with feathers colored from distant birds. Their steps are light, deliberate. They are not leaving the village so much as returning to another part of their home, the forest, which they treat as kin. One of them stops to speak with an elder woman sitting by the drying racks. She hands him a small pouch of herbs. He takes it with both hands, bows his head, and tucks it close to his heart. A blessing for the journey. Protection for the spirit. You realize every gesture here has weight, has meaning. Even silence speaks. From the riverbank comes laughter, women washing clothes, their reflections rippling in the current. The fabric, woven from plant fibers and softened by use, shines with the color of earth, smoke, and sun. Their voices rise and fall like the rhythm of the river itself. Behind them, a boy carves a stick into the shape of a bird. His small knife moves carefully, the way his father's would when shaping an arrow shaft. The people here learn by doing, by watching, by repetition so deep it becomes instinct. You begin to see how this place holds more than bodies, it holds stories. Every ridge, every stone, every clearing has a name, a history, a spirit. The elder earlier called them places that remember. You can feel that truth now. The land isn't just backdrop, it's participant. The air shifts, the faint scent of sage and pine mingles with the smoke. Someone is preparing a small ritual at the village center. A circle of stones, a line of sweetgrass burning slowly. The smoke curls upward in thin strands, blue and fragrant, rising to the sky as if seeking a reply. You watch as the elder sprinkles a few grains of corn into the fire, a gift to the spirits of the day, for safe journeys and good harvests. The people gather in quiet respect, heads bowed, the children mimicking the gestures of their elders. You realize this isn't about worship in the way you might know it. It's not kneeling before gods in distant heavens. It's standing within the living breath of creation, acknowledging the unseen threads that bind water to sky, fire to stone, man to earth. The ceremony ends without fanfare. The villagers disperse, some toward the fields, some toward the forest trails. The elder remains a moment longer, watching the smoke drift away. When he turns, he catches your gaze. There's a glimmer in his eyes, not surprise, not curiosity, but a kind of recognition. As if he's seen your world already, and pities how far it's drifted from this one. He gestures toward the trees. Go, he seems to say. See what the earth remembers. So you walk. The trail leads through the forest, where shafts of sunlight stripe the ground. You hear the hush of branches rubbing in the wind, the murmur of distant water. Every step releases the scent of pine needles and soil. You notice the way each tree stands in its own space, yet the roots below intertwine, invisible threads holding the forest together. The people here know those roots by heart. They know which bark yields medicine, which leaf cures fever, which moss keeps water clean. Knowledge like that doesn't come from books. It comes from belonging, from living long enough in one place that your bones carry its memory. Somewhere nearby, a woman gathers cattails. Each motion is precise: twist, pull, shake, lay aside. She hums softly, an old tune without words. The sound of it blends with the river's voice, and for a moment you can't tell where the song ends and the water begins. Further on, you pass a small field, rows of corn, beans, and squash climbing together. The Three Sisters, as many nations call them. The plants grow in harmony. Corn gives the beans a spine to climb, beans feed the soil, and squash shades the roots, keeping them cool. The people who tend this field understand what modern minds often forget, that survival is a kind of conversation. Give and receive. Help and be helped. Beyond the fields, the land opens into meadow. You can see distant smoke from another village, perhaps a few miles away, perhaps another nation's camp. There are no walls dividing them. Between the people of the earth, trade and kinship flow as freely as rivers. Furs for flint, shells for songs, stories for stories. When one tribe moves, others make space. When one harvests, others give thanks. Even language shifts like the wind, hundreds of tongues, each holding its own way of describing the sacred. Yet all share the same root thought: the world is alive, and you are part of it. You pause, taking it all in: the warmth of the sun, the murmur of insects in the grass, the faint call of voices from afar. In this moment, you understand something simple and astonishing: no one here is separate. Not the hawk tracing circles overhead, not the woman gathering reeds, not the child playing with river stones. The people of the earth live inside the circle of life, not at its edge. The elder's words return to you, carried on the wind: we are all relatives. You begin to grasp what that truly means. Relatives are not just those who share your blood, but those who share your breath, the deer whose life becomes your food, the cedar that gives you warmth, the river that gives you drink. Gratitude, here, isn't politeness. It's survival. The sun climbs higher, warm now, spilling gold through the branches. You can hear the hunters calling softly in the distance, signals carried by echo and wind. Somewhere, laughter bursts out from the village, bright and brief. The day unfolds, fluid as the river. You realize this is what civilization once looked like: not cities of stone, but networks of respect. Not kingdoms, but circles. You close your eyes. The forest hums around you, alive, infinite, ancient. And as you breathe it in, you understand why they called themselves simply the people. Because what else could you call yourself when you belong so completely to the world? The wind shifts again, carrying the smell of smoke and roasted maize. The day has begun in full. And as the sunlight glows across bark and water, you turn toward the heart of the village again, toward the homes of bark and hide, where the fires burn steady and life continues its quiet rhythm. The story moves with you. And without noticing, you have already stepped into the next moment of the day. Into the warmth of the lodges, where the people of the earth live, rest, and dream. The sun climbs higher now, filtering through the treetops until it turns the village into a lattice of light and shadow. The morning air still holds a trace of coolness, but warmth is gathering, in the soil, in the fires, in the rhythm of life that moves around you. You follow the sound of voices, the laughter of children, the crackle of burning wood, and the smell of smoke and cedar draws you back toward the circle of homes. From afar they look like low hills sprouting from the earth, domes of bark, hide, and woven saplings. They seem less built and grown, as if the forest itself shaped them in kindness for the people who live here. A woman kneels by the nearest one, smoothing a patch of bark into place. She presses it gently against the curved frame, whispering something soft as she does. Maybe a prayer, maybe just a greeting to the tree that gave it skin. The house breathes in the wind, creaking softly, alive in its own quiet way. You step closer, and the details come alive. Each home is different, yet each shares the same logic. Nothing wasted, nothing beyond what the land can give. Some are wigwams, rounded and intimate, their ribs made of young saplings bent into arches and tied with rawhide. Birch bark panels overlap like the scales of a fish, shedding rain easily, holding in warmth when the nights grow cold. Others are longhouses, great timbered halls stretched along the ground, where several families live side by side. Their bark walls gleam with smoke-darkened polish, their roofs curved like the back of a sleeping animal. You can smell the sweet tang of the bark, resin and ash, sap and thyme. A line of thin smoke curls from the top where the roof opens to the sky, and when you peer up through that opening, the sun blazes in a perfect circle, as if blessing the home below. Inside, the air is warmer, thick with the scent of firewood, dried herbs, hides, and earth. The space glows with flickering amber light, shadows dancing across the curved walls. You hear the low murmur of talk, the clack of wooden bowls, the soft rhythm of hands working. A woman sits cross-legged by the hearth, stirring a pot that hangs over the fire. A child leans against her side, watching the stew bubble, corn and squash, maybe a bit of dried meat. Across the room, another woman weaves a mat from reeds. Her fingers move so fast they blur, but her face is calm, the kind of calm that comes from having done something 1,000 times. The fire crackles gently in the center of the home. It's more than warmth, it's heart, protector, storyteller. The people feed it with care, whispering to it as if it listens, which, in a way, it does. In the longhouses of the Haudenosaunee, this central fire burns for entire clans, linking generations through flame. When a child is born, the smoke carries the first scent of their life up into the sky. When someone dies, the fire sends their final breath to join the ancestors. You notice how everything inside the home belongs to a circle, the fire in the center, the people gathered around it, their tools, baskets, and blankets arranged with quiet precision. There is no clutter, no waste. Each object is both practical and sacred, a basket to hold food, but also a reminder of the river reeds that made it, a pot to cook in, but also a story of the clay pulled from the earth. You reach out to touch the wall. The bark is cool and slightly damp from the morning's mist. Beneath your hand, you can feel the texture, rough ridges, grooves where insects once traced their paths. It feels alive, like skin. Outside, you hear laughter again, a group of children racing between the homes, chasing one another with shouts that echo across the clearing. Their feet drum against the packed earth. 2 men walk past carrying a log on their shoulders, freshly cut from the forest. Their voices rise and fall in a low chant, a working song, rhythmic and steady. Nearby, an old woman kneels beside a frame where hides are stretched tight to dry. She scrapes them with a sharp stone, her movements deliberate, economical. The smell of tanned leather drifts through the air, sharp, smoky, clean. You step back outside, and the sunlight blinds you for a moment. The village hums with quiet energy. Some homes gleam with new bark, freshly repaired for the season. Others show the dark gloss of years and smoke. Children carry bundles of kindling, women fetch water from the river, a pair of men mend a canoe with heated pitch. Everything here moves according to rhythm, not rush. No one shouts orders. No one stands idle. Each person knows what to do because the work itself has been woven into memory, passed down through the songs and gestures of ancestors. You pause to watch a young couple building a new lodge. Their hands move in harmony, bending saplings, tying them with strips of hide. Each arc becomes part of a rib, and soon the shape begins to rise, half-circle against the sky. The woman steps back, wipes her brow, and laughs softly. The man smiles but doesn't stop working. You see pride in the smallness of the task, not in conquest, but in creation. When the frame is done, they step inside and look up through it, the lattice of wood against the blue sky, and it looks, for a moment, like a cathedral of trees. The elder approaches them, inspecting their work with a nod. He touches the doorway, a symbolic gesture. The first to pass through must be the builder, to welcome the spirit of the house. They will line the walls with bark and moss before nightfall, and soon it will join the living circle of homes that breathe together through the seasons. You wander further, and find the longhouse, the great communal dwelling. Its entrance faces east like all the others, so that the first light of the day blesses the interior. Inside, the space feels vast, filled with a low golden glow. The roof beams stretch high above your head, blackened by generations of smoke. Along the sides, sleeping platforms run the length of the hall, layered with furs, woven mats, and blankets of hide. Each hearth along the central aisle marks a family, their fire, their stories, their line. Smoke drifts upward through openings above, carrying the mingled sense of food, cedar, and memory. You sit for a moment near one of the fires. A man repairs a fishing net, his fingers deft and steady. Beside him, a young girl listens as her grandmother hums an old song, low, soothing, without words. The sound fills the air like the warmth of the fire itself. Outside, a drumbeat begins, distant, slow, heartbeat steady. The rhythm seeps into the longhouse, a pulse of life beyond the walls. You glance at the people sitting near you. Their faces glow in the light, calm and intent. The flicker of the fire paints shifting shadows across the curved bark walls. You realize that this is not just shelter. This is identity. Each home, each fire, each circle of faces is a small world, held together by hands and hearts. A boy beside you is carving something small, a figurine of a bear. He works quietly, occasionally glancing toward his grandmother for approval. When he's done, he holds it up to the light, and she smiles. She touches it, then the boy's forehead, a wordless blessing. The bear, carved from soft wood, will be his guardian. As the morning stretches toward noon, the village fills with a hum of life. You hear the rhythmic pounding of corn into meal, the shuffle of feet, the distant sound of a river churning over stones. The smell of stew thickens, corn and beans, smoke and earth. The homes of bark and hide shimmer under the sunlight, breathing, alive. And you think, this is architecture not of stone and ego, but of belonging. Homes built to last not forever, but long enough to live, love, and return to the earth. When time and weather break them down, their pieces become forest again, their ashes feed the soil. Nothing wasted. Nothing lost. The elder's words return once more. The house must know the rain. The rain must know the house. You watch the wind move through the clearing, stirring the roofs of bark like hair in a soft breeze. The people go on with their work, their laughter rising like birds through the heat. Somewhere, a child begins to sing a song learned from her mother, a tune that describes the building of a lodge, each verse a memory of hands, bark, and care. You can almost feel the rhythm of her small voice weaving through the air, binding the place together. The day deepens. Shadows shorten. The smell of smoke thickens, and the warmth of the fires grows heavier as the sun burns above. Soon, the hunters will return. Soon, work will shift again, from making to preparing, from the stillness of craft to the movement of need. But for now, in this golden pause of midday, the homes of bark and hide stand as they always have, quiet hearts of the people, breathing the same rhythm as the earth that built them. And as you step back into the light, the world hums with that same quiet unity. The heartbeat of a life lived not against nature, but within it. The smoke rises. The sun leans west. And the rhythm of the day carries you forward. Toward labor, toward purpose. Toward the work before the sun. By the time the light sharpens over the treetops, the village is already alive with motion. Not the frantic clamor of modern work, no engines, no shouting, no hurry, but a living rhythm, steady and purposeful, as if the entire place moves to the same low drumbeat. The men are gathering near the edge of the forest. The hunters' shadows stretch long across the grass, spears and bows gleaming faintly in the rising light. They speak in quiet tones, gestures more than words. a hand on a shoulder. A nod, a glance toward the sky. They know the language of the day already, the weight of the clouds, the scent of the wind, the angle of the sun. The forest speaks its mood, and they listen. Before they go, one kneels at the fire and scatters a pinch of tobacco onto the coals. The smoke rises thin and blue. It is not an offering of wealth but of respect, a way of saying we remember where the gift comes from. Because to hunt is not conquest here, it is communion. To take life requires gratitude, not pride. From across the clearing comes the sound of women's laughter, soft and rhythmic as the rustle of grain. They are at work too, not in the fields yet, but by the hearths and water's edge. One crushes maize in a wooden mortar, the steady beat of her pestle echoing like a drum. Another kneels to grind dried corn into meal on a flat stone, her arms moving in graceful, endless circles. Beside her, a child hums and gathers the fine yellow dust that drifts off the stone, the smell of warmth and work and sustenance mingled together. A group of young women stands knee-deep in the river, washing hides. They slap them against the water, twisting and rinsing with practiced rhythm. Their arms shine with droplets that catch the light like scattered stars. Their laughter carries downstream, soft but strong. Work is not burden here, it is song. You move through the village slowly, the air thick with the mingled scents of smoke, damp earth, and labor. Children dart between you, small limbs painted with dust, their hair wild with play. But even play has its lessons. They mimic the adults, pretend to tan hides, to grind corn, to carry wood. You see one small boy dragging a stick over the ground, tracing the pattern of a deer's tracks. His father watches from a distance, smiling, proud but silent. Teaching, here, rarely needs words. Near the field, older children tend to the 3 sisters. Corn, beans, and squash rise together in green companionship, a geometry of life that feeds both body and spirit. The corn stretches tall, offering its spine for the beans to climb. The squash curls at the base, its broad leaves sheltering the soil from sun and thirst. Each plant helps the other. None can thrive alone. One girl kneels to press soil around a sprout, murmuring something under her breath, maybe a song, maybe a promise. The field answers her in the language of wind and whisper. Further off, men repair tools, stone axes, flint knives, bows strung with sinew. The sound of flint striking flint rings sharp and clean. A hunter tests his arrow, bending the shaft, running his fingers along the feathers to make sure they lie true. He breathes once, steady and deep, then releases the string. The arrow hums through the air and lands in a tree trunk with a satisfying thunk. He nods. The others nod back. No cheer, no boasting, only readiness. You notice how the tasks of the day weave together, men and women, old and young, all moving in the same quiet circle. There is no hierarchy of importance here. The one who gathers water is as vital as the one who hunts. The one who weaves mats is as essential as the one who carries the bough. Every act is a thread in the same tapestry, survival, yes, but also balance. An elder woman crouches near a group of children, showing them how to braid strips of grass into rope. Her hands are lined like riverbeds, but they move with the grace of water. Everything must be made with patience, she tells them softly. A rope woven in anger will break. The children listen, wide-eyed, their fingers clumsy but eager. The lesson is more than craft, it is philosophy disguised as work. As the sun climbs higher, the air thickens with heat. Sweat darkens the fabric of tunics, beads along foreheads. Still, no one stops. A young man hauls a log toward a new lodge frame. A woman kneels by a clay pit, shaping pots with her palms, the texture of wet earth cooling her skin. Everywhere you look, hands move, pulling, lifting, tying, smoothing, the same way they have moved for generations. The sound of work is music, the whisper of grass underfoot, the dull thud of wood meeting stone, the steady rhythm of breathing. In the distance, A drum begins to beat, slow, even. The rhythm matches the pulse of the village itself. You follow the hunters into the trees for a while, where the sunlight breaks into shards through the canopy. The air is cooler here, dense with the scent of pine and moss. The men move in single file, silent but alert. Every footstep lands softly, as though the earth might bruise beneath it. They move not as intruders but as part of the forest's own breath, pausing when the wind changes, kneeling to touch the soil, reading the signs left by hooves and feathers. One of them kneels beside a faint track, a deer's print, still fresh. He touches it, then touches his chest. A silent thank you. Hunting, you realize, is not pursuit. It's conversation, a slow dialogue between life and necessity. The trail bends along a stream. You can hear water chuckling over stones, smell the damp sweetness of fern and clay. One hunter dips his fingers in, drinks, then sprinkles a few drops back into the current. The forest absorbs the gesture, quiet acknowledgement between equals. Back in the village, the women pause their work to eat. The meal is simple: roasted corn, berries, and a bit of dried meat. They sit together in a circle beneath the shade of a great oak. The children gather close, sharing, laughing, crumbs on their chins. No one eats alone. Food, like life, is meant to be shared. An elder speaks between bites, telling a story about the first woman who learned to plant corn, how she watched the birds hide seeds in the ground and saw them return as green life. The younger ones listen with bright eyes. Stories here are not distractions from work, they are part of it. Each tale carries instructions, memories, warnings, humor. A myth is not fantasy. It is a memory that survived long enough to become sacred. When the meal is done, the rhythm resumes, the beating of corn, the scraping of hides, the crack of splitting wood. Two young men carry baskets of reeds toward the river. A woman follows them with her baby on her back, wrapped in soft deer hide. She hums as she walks. The tune floats through the air like mist over water. You feel the slow hum of the day, not exhaustion, but endurance. The people move as one organism, connected by effort and care. As the sun begins to lower, long shadows creep across the ground. The hunters return at last, emerging from the trees with quiet pride. They carry a deer between them, its weight balanced on a pole. The village gathers to meet them, not with cheering but with silence, a deep, respectful stillness. The hunters kneel, and the elder steps forward. She touches the deer's forehead, murmurs a few words, and sprinkles a handful of cornmeal over its body. Gratitude first, always gratitude. Then work resumes. The animal is prepared carefully. Every part will be used: meat for food, sinew for cord, hide for clothing, bone for tools. Nothing wasted. The act is not cruelty, it is continuity. The smell of smoke thickens as the fires grow stronger, preparing to preserve the meat before night. The sun drifts toward the western trees. You can feel the shift in the air, the slow unwinding of the day's labor. The work before the sun is nearly done. Children carry wood to the hearths. Women stir the pots where stew thickens. The men clean their tools, quiet and satisfied. You stand among them, feeling the pulse of it all, this rhythm of necessity and grace. There is no separation between labor and life, between effort and meaning. Here, to work is to pray. Each task, simple, repetitive, eternal, is a thread in the tapestry of survival. The elder sits by the fire again, her face glowing with reflected light. She looks toward you, as though she knows you've been watching. Tomorrow, she says softly, the sun will rise again. And so will we. The fire pops, scattering sparks that drift upward like tiny stars. The smoke climbs into the sky. The air cools. The world slows. And as the last light fades through the forest, you feel the pull of what comes next, the quiet power of the hunt, the communion between human and beast, life and death, spirit and earth. The day exhales. The forest listens. and you move gently into the deepening shadows, toward the hunt and survival. The forest is different once the sun begins its slow descent, quieter, deeper, as if the world has drawn a long breath and is holding it. The air cools, carrying the scent of moss and water, and every sound becomes sharper. The creak of branches overhead, the sigh of wind through needles, the faint distant splash of something moving in the stream. You walk among the hunters now, though they move like shadows, their bodies painted with earth, their faces calm and unreadable. The light glints off the edges of their bows and the smooth lines of their spears. They wear soft moccasins that make no sound, their steps measured, deliberate. Every movement is born from generations of memory. The hunt is not chaos here. It is ceremony. One of the hunters, the eldest among them, stops beside a tree. He presses his palm flat against the bark, whispering something you cannot quite hear. The others pause too, heads slightly bowed. It is a greeting, a promise, that no life will be taken without honor, that the balance will remain unbroken. The group splits, two moving left, one right, another climbing the ridge to watch the wind. You follow the path of the eldest, deeper into the shadows. The forest closes around you, dim and damp, alive with unseen eyes. He kneels, brushing the ground with his fingertips. A trail, faint but fresh. Hoofprints pressed into soft earth. Deer. He touches the track lightly, then brings his fingers to his lips, then to the sky. Gratitude before pursuit. The hunt begins. The pace is slow, not the reckless sprint of predator and prey, but the patient rhythm of understanding. The hunter moves like water, flowing around trees, gliding over roots without sound. Every few steps, he stops to listen. A flick of his eyes, a tilt of his head, reading the world as if it were a living map. You realize he isn't tracking the deer alone. He's tracking the forest's mood, the hush of the birds, the way the wind shifts through the leaves, the tremor of silence that sometimes follows the crack of a twig. Every detail is information. Every breath has weight. At one point, he raises a hand, signaling you to stop. Ahead through the trees, a shape moves, light brown, graceful. The deer grazes near the stream, its head dipping and rising, ears flicking toward invisible sounds. The hunter's bow rises slowly. His breath steadies. The world holds still. Even the leaves seem to wait. For a moment you feel what he feels, that fragile edge between life and necessity. The arrow's fletching catches the last red light of day. Then a quiet thrum. The deer falls. The silence afterward is immense. No celebration. No shout. Only stillness, heavy, reverent, real. The hunter kneels beside the animal. His hand rests on its neck, feeling the last faint warmth of life fading. He whispers words of thanks, low and musical, a language of respect. Then he sprinkles a pinch of tobacco near its mouth and places his palm over its heart. You kneel beside him, and for a moment you understand that this act, this taking of life, is not about power. It's about continuity. A recognition that your own life depends on another's. That every breath, every meal, every moment of warmth is borrowed from something that once lived. When they lift the deer, it's done with care. The others return, wordless. Together they carry it through the trees, moving in rhythm, as though the forest itself watches and approves. The trail back to the village glows gold in the last light of day. Shadows stretch long. Birds call in soft bursts, readying for night. You walk behind the hunters, feeling the weight of what survival truly means, not victory, but balance. As you near the clearing, faint sounds greet you, the hum of voices, the hiss of fire, the smell of wood smoke drifting sweet and earthy through the dusk. The village is waiting. When the hunters appear, people rise to meet them, forming a loose circle. No one rushes forward. No one claps or cheers. The elder steps out from the firelight and places her hand over her chest, bowing her head. The others follow. Silence again, deep and sacred. The deer is laid before the fire. An old song begins, a chant low and rhythmic, half melody, half heartbeat. The people move in slow measure around the animal, voices blending with the crackle of flame. The song tells the story of the hunt, of the deer that offered itself, of the endless circle of giving and return. When the song ends, the air feels heavier, the fire brighter. The hunters begin their work. Knives of stone flash in the firelight. Hands move carefully, expertly. The hide is peeled back in one smooth motion, revealing muscle that glows red in the glow. Every cut is deliberate, not rushed, not careless. The heart is lifted, and the elder sprinkles cornmeal upon it, offering it to the fire. The flames leap, devouring the gift. Smoke rises in a single twisting column, carrying the spirit skyward. Around the fire, the others begin preparing, bowls set out, baskets woven from reeds ready to hold the meat, pots filled with water for boiling. The smell of fresh blood mingles with sage and smoke. Children stand nearby, watching in silence. They do not turn away. They are learning, not about death, but about gratitude. You notice the way each part of the animal finds its place. Nothing is wasted. The meat will feed the people for days. The hide will become clothing and shelter. The sinew will bind tools and weapons. The bones will become needles, hooks, and arrow points. Even the hooves will be boiled for glue. Every piece returns to use, to purpose, to life again. The elder speaks quietly as she works. When we take from the earth, she says, we give back in care. What we eat becomes us. What we waste becomes hunger. You look around the circle, faces glowing orange in the firelight, eyes reflecting flame. You realize that survival here is not just endurance. It's relationship. The people live not off the land, but with it, a continual conversation of giving and taking and thanking. As night settles, the smell of cooking fills the air. The first stew of the season, venison simmered with corn and beans, bubbles thickly in the pot. The sound of it is soft, steady, hypnotic. Steam curls upward, carrying the taste of smoke and salt and soil. Someone adds herbs, a pinch of dried sage. Someone else stirs. The rhythm of the spoon against the pot becomes another heartbeat in the night. The hunters sit back, their faces relaxed, eyes heavy with the day's exhaustion. The children drift closer to the fire, drawn by warmth and curiosity. A small boy reaches for a bone scraper, running his fingers along the smooth edge. His father takes his hand gently and guides him, showing how to hold it, how to draw it across the hide without tearing. The boy tries slowly, carefully. The father nods once satisfied. Learning never stops here, not even in the quiet hours. Knowledge passes like breath, from elder to child, from hand to hand, from story to silence. The moon climbs above the treetops, pale and full. The fire crackles. The village breathes together, a slow pulse of life in the dark. When the food is ready, bowls are passed around. No one eats first. The elder lifts her portion toward the sky, closes her eyes, and whispers a few words of thanks, to the animal, to the fire, to the unseen spirits that weave through all things. Only then does she take a bite. The others follow. The stew tastes of earth and labor, of gratitude and memory. It's not just food. It's history, 1,000 hunts remembered, 1,000 dawns survived. You sit among them, the fire warming your face, the air cool against your back. The stars emerge above the smoke, sharp, infinite, reflected faintly in every bowl. The night insects sing. Somewhere, a coyote howls, distant and mournful. And for the first time, you feel the fullness of this world, how everything, from the smallest ember to the farthest star, is part of the same circle. The elder speaks once more, her voice low but steady. Life feeds life, she says. That is the only law that never breaks. The hunters nod. The children listen. The fire crackles, and the smoke drifts upward in slow spirals, vanishing into the stars. Beyond the light of the flames, the forest waits, calm, patient, eternal. Tomorrow, they will hunt again. Tomorrow, they will thank again. Because survival is not an act of conquest here. It is the art of remembering your place in the world. And as the last embers fade, you feel that truth settle in your bones like warmth after cold. That to live is to give back. That to eat is to pray. That to survive is to belong. The night deepens. The stars burn steady. And the soft hum of the village folds around you like a heartbeat. The fire sighs, the smoke drifts away, and the world, the living, breathing world, prepares for the next moment of its eternal circle. Food from the earth. The fire burns low, its embers glowing like sleeping hearts. Smoke drifts lazily upward, painting the air with the smell of roasted venison and sweet maize. Around you, the village hums in quiet satisfaction, a soft murmur of voices, a few low laughs, the rhythmic crackle of wood. Night is deepening, but the day's work is not yet done. Beyond the circle of firelight, the fields wait, silent, silvered in moonlight. Rows of corn rise like tall sentinels, their leaves whispering softly in the wind. Between them, beans wind upward in gentle spirals, and broad squash leaves sprawl across the ground, thick and full, holding the day's warmth in their veins. These are the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, the heart of the people's sustenance. Long before the first light of dawn tomorrow, women will walk among these plants, touching each one gently as if greeting old friends. For the people of the land, food is not a harvest taken, it is a relationship tended. Even now, an old woman sits near the fire, a woven basket in her lap. Inside it lies the next season's seed, small kernels of corn, smooth and hard, each one alive with promise. She turns them slowly in her palm, inspecting them by firelight. Her granddaughter sits beside her, watching every movement. When we plant, the elder murmurs, her voice like wind through grass. We don't command the earth. We ask. She takes a pinch of ashes from the fire, sprinkles them into her hand, and mixes them with the kernels. Ash is the memory of what was. It feeds what will be. The child nods solemnly, understanding more through silence than words. The night hums gently around them, frogs croaking by the river, insects singing, firewood settling with small sighs. The scent of stew still lingers, heavy and rich, and the smoke carries faint traces of sage. You feel the closeness of this world, how every element, air, soil, flame, flesh, intertwines in a single living braid. You follow the scent of earth to the edge of the fields, where the soil breathes out warmth gathered through the day. The air here is thicker, sweeter. You kneel, run your fingers through the dirt, and feel how alive it is, soft, damp, full of unseen movement. To the people here, the soil is not dirt. It's body, Mother Earth's own flesh. When spring comes, they will break this ground with digging sticks, not plows. The stick bites softly, never cutting deeper than needed. Corn is planted first, each seed tucked into a small hill of soil. Then beans beside it, to climb the stalk and feed the roots with their strength. Finally squash, spread wide at the base to keep the ground shaded and moist. The women sing as they plant, voices low and even, following a rhythm older than memory. The song is both work and prayer, a melody that says, grow well, live strong, we will care for you. Every motion is deliberate, every word an offering. There are no idle gestures here. The planting itself is a ceremony, the renewal of the pact between earth and people. When the first shoots rise, they are greeted with joy. The children are the first to see them, running through the field to cry, "They live! They live!" And the elders smile, because the land has answered once again. In the warm months, these fields are the village's heart. They shimmer with green under the sun, the air humming with bees and the rustle of leaves. You can almost taste the life that pulses through them. The women move among the rows with baskets on their hips, pulling weeds, chasing crows, whispering to the plants as they go. Their fingers know each stem, each leaf, each sign of drought or storm. They speak to the corn as they might to a child: stand tall, be strong, remember who you are. At the edges of the fields, other foods grow wild, berries bursting in clusters of red and purple, roots hidden beneath the soil, herbs that heal or flavor, depending on how they're used. A young boy crouches to gather mint leaves, the scent clinging to his hands. His mother shows him how to cut carefully, to leave enough for the plant to live. You never take the first one you see, she tells him. That one belongs to the spirits. Deeper in the forest, the men hunt small game, rabbit, grouse, sometimes turkey, moving with quiet skill. But they never take more than the village can eat. To hoard is shameful. To waste is a wound upon the world. Everywhere this law holds: what you take, you must honor. When the harvest comes, it is a celebration, not of abundance alone, but of reciprocity. The first ears of corn are roasted in the fire and offered to the earth, to thank her for her generosity. Only then does the village feast. You can hear the laughter echo through the trees, the rhythm of drums rising in time with the crackle of the fires. The people dance in circles, their shadows leaping over the fields that fed them. You stand among them, and it feels less like a festival and more like gratitude turned into movement. Each step presses into the soil, returning the energy that was borrowed. The food from the earth is shared freely, bowls pass from hand to hand, the taste of roasted corn mingling with smoke and spice. No one eats alone. Children dart between adults, stealing bites, their faces lit by the fire's glow. The old and the young eat side by side, strength and wisdom together. As the feast continues, stories rise with the night air, tales of how the three sisters came to the people. One version says that long ago, the earth was barren until three spirits descended, one tall and proud like corn, one slender and winding like the bean, and one broad and generous like the squash. They were sisters who quarreled until hunger taught them unity. Together, they learned to grow, each supporting the other. The people learned from their example that life thrives only in cooperation. The elder finishes the story and looks toward the children. Remember, she says softly, we eat because they chose to live together. The night deepens. Fireflies drift like falling stars through the darkness. The fires burn low, and families carry their baskets back to the homes of bark and hide. Inside, you can hear the quiet sounds of the night, the sigh of sleeping children, the hiss of embers, the murmur of someone whispering thanks before rest. You stay a moment longer by the fields. The wind moves through the corn, whispering secrets to the moon. The air smells of earth and smoke, of sweetness and ash. You can feel the pulse of the land beneath your feet, slow, steady, eternal. You begin to understand that food here is not just sustenance. It's memory, ceremony, identity. Each seed carries the past in its shell, the hands that planted it, the psalms that welcomed it, the rains that fed it. When these people eat, they taste time itself, all the seasons that came before and the promise of those yet to come. And somewhere between the rustle of the leaves and the sigh of the wind, you hear it, the truth that everything living shares, that to be fed is to be loved, and to give life is to keep love alive. The firelight fades behind you. The night hums low and deep. The world exhales. Tomorrow, the sun will rise on new work, and new hands will carry forward the same eternal rhythm of care, of balance, of gratitude. And as you turn toward the glow of the sleeping village, the faint laughter of children echoes through the dark, warm, alive, everlasting, guiding you onward toward the heart of the people, toward the keepers of that life itself. The women, the keepers of life. The moon has climbed high above the trees now, pale, perfect, ancient. Its light spills across the village, softening every edge, turning bark, hide, and earth into shades of silver. The fires burn low, whispering to the night. Smoke drifts lazily toward the stars. And in this hour between work and rest, the heart of the village beats, most quietly, in the hands of its women. You see them still awake when others sleep, the mothers, grandmothers, daughters, sisters. Their silhouettes move slowly in the glow of the dying fires, tending to what the day has left undone. A woman hums as she stirs the last of the stew, scraping the sides of the pot so nothing goes to waste. Another gathers the sleeping children, tucking them beneath furs and woven blankets. The old ones mend, a tear in a tunic, a broken strap, a child's moccasin worn thin at the sole. They move with the quiet grace of those who have done this for lifetimes. Each gesture holds a rhythm, the rhythm of continuity. In every nation across this vast land, the world is held together by women's hands. Among the Haudenosaunee, they are the clan mothers, keepers of lineage, guardians of justice. Among the Cherokee, they walk in balance with the men, their words carrying equal weight in the council fire. Among the Dine, the Navajo, they weave the world itself, their looms mirroring the sacred web of creation. And everywhere, from the forests of the northeast to the deserts of the southwest, they are the teachers of life's most enduring lesson, that strength can be soft, and power can be quiet. You walk among them now, feeling the warmth that lingers even in the cool air. A young woman kneels by the river, washing her child's cradleboard, her movements slow and careful. She pauses to look up at the moon, her face glowing with light. Her child stirs, tiny hands reaching toward her voice, as if drawn by the gravity of love itself. The cradleboard is more than a bed. It's a symbol of protection, of care, of the sacred trust between mother and child. The soft moss padding, the leather ties, the beads strung along its edge, each piece made by hand, each one imbued with prayer. When the mother lifts the cradle to her back, she ties it with cloth across her chest, keeping the child's heartbeat against her own. In that closeness, the child learns the world's first rhythm, the rhythm of the heart that carried it here. In another home, an elder sits cross-legged by the fire, her gray hair unbound, her face etched with 1,000 dawns. Around her, young women listen. Some spin thread from plant fiber. Others braid cord or sew beads into a dress. The elder's voice is low, steady, like the murmur of a stream. She tells them the old stories, how the first woman fell from the sky world, how she landed on the back of the great turtle, how she brought seeds in her hands and spread them across the earth. She was the first to plant, the elder says, the first to make a home, the first to care. That's why we call this land Turtle Island, because her work still holds us. The women nod, the firelight flickering in their eyes. The story isn't just myth. It's lineage. A reminder that creation was an act of care, that the world itself began in a woman's hands. You watch as one of the younger women hums while weaving. Her fingers move quickly, threading dyed fibers into intricate patterns, reds like clay, blues like water, whites like ash. Every design tells a story, of rivers, mountains, stars, and the spirits that guide them. When the cloth is finished, it won't just be worn, it will be spoken through. A language of color and line, understood by those who carry its meaning. Outside, the fields rest under moonlight. The plants are still, but you can almost feel their slow, secret growth, life continuing even in silence. The women will rise before dawn to check the soil, to collect herbs for healing, to prepare food for the hunters and the elders. But even now, they're working, not from obligation, but from devotion. Among these people, a woman's role is not confined by walls or tasks. She is the firekeeper, ensuring the flame never dies. She is the grower, coaxing seed into sustenance. She is the weaver, the storyteller, the memory of the tribe. And when needed, she is the warrior, fierce as the storms she reads in the clouds. You remember what an elder said earlier, his voice slow as smoke. The earth is female. When we honor her, we honor our mothers. When we wound her, we wound ourselves. You begin to understand that truth. Every gesture of nurture, planting, cooking, healing, teaching, is an echo of the earth's own giving. To live here is to understand that the feminine and the natural are bound in one endless circle of creation. The night deepens further, stars crowding the sky. The moonlight gleams on baskets and pots, on strands of hair, on sleeping faces. Somewhere, a baby cries softly. Its mother lifts it, whispering in a tone so gentle it sounds like a prayer. The crying fades into a sigh, then into sleep. She looks at the child's face for a long time before setting it back down, her fingers lingering at its brow. In her eyes you glimpse something immense, not exhaustion, but purpose. The knowledge that her care holds an entire world steady. A few steps away, another woman tends the communal fire. She kneels, pushing glowing embers together, feeding them with dry bark. The light flares, golden and alive, chasing back the dark. Her movements are slow, methodical, the same ones her mother taught her, and her mother before that. Each flame she kindles connects her to all the women who came before, all those who bent over fires in the long chain of nights stretching back to the beginning. And you realize, this is what continuity looks like. Not monuments or names carved in stone, but hands passing warmth through time. When the work is done, the women sit together, resting. They talk softly, of the harvest, of children growing, of dreams that came in the night. One begins to sing, a lullaby older than memory. Her voice rises into the darkness, soft and round, like the edge of the moon. The others join, harmonizing without thought. Their voices blend, earth and air, sorrow and joy, woven tight as reeds in a basket. You listen, and something deep within you stills. The song feels less like music and more like breath itself, the breath of the world exhaled in human tone. When the song ends, silence returns, but it's a full silence, alive and gentle. The women rise. One by one, they retreat into their homes. The fires settle. The stars seem closer now, brighter. In the quiet, you can almost hear the pulse of the land, slow, maternal, infinite. Here, woman is not merely human. She is reflection of the earth, the moon, the water, the seed. She gives life, feeds it, protects it, and returns it when the time comes. The balance she keeps is sacred. Without it, the people would vanish. Without it, the earth itself would fall silent. The elders' words echo softly across the night. When the women stop singing, even the rivers forget their way home. You sit with that thought as the last embers fade to black. The village sleeps, safe, wrapped in the breath of its keepers. And as you close your eyes, you feel the presence of those countless generations of women, their songs in the wind, their laughter in the fire's hiss, their strength in the soil beneath you. The moon drifts westward. The stars lean toward dawn. And from the edges of sleep, the first sounds of morning stir, a child's giggle, a spark catching in a hearth, the rustle of movement beginning again. Soon, the children will rise to learn from what they see and hear. To inherit not just stories, but the patience and grace that make life possible. The fire sighs once more, brightens slightly, and leads you gently toward the next breath of the world. Children and learning. The first light of dawn glows soft and golden over the treetops, brushing the village awake. Mist clings to the grass, shimmering like a veil as the sun begins to warm the earth. Smoke rises again from the hearths, slow and steady, carrying the scent of cedar and roasted corn. And then laughter. Bright, sudden, alive. Children spill from their homes like sunlight breaking through clouds. Their feet patter against the packed earth, leaving small prints that glisten with dew. They chase one another between the lodges, breathless, uncontained. Their voices weave through the air like birdsong, pure and unashamed. You can feel it. The way joy here is not an interruption, but a form of prayer. A small boy pauses near the riverbank, crouching low to watch the water swirl around his reflection. He dips his fingers into the current, tracing circles, testing its coldness. His mother stands a few steps behind, watching. She doesn't call to him, doesn't warn or scold. She lets him learn. In this world, childhood is not a race toward adulthood. It's a slow, living apprenticeship with the earth itself. Here, knowledge is not forced, it's absorbed through silence, imitation, and time. A group of older children sits near the fire, helping an elder strip bark from a fallen tree. The elder's hands move with calm precision, cut, peel, roll. He doesn't lecture, he demonstrates. The children watch every motion, their eyes following the rhythm of his knife. When he finishes, he hands one of them the blade without a word. The boy hesitates, then mimics what he's seen. His first cut is clumsy. The bark splits unevenly. The elder smiles, not with amusement but approval. Mistakes are not scolded here. They are honored as the first breath of understanding. Try again, the elder says softly. The tree will teach you. The boy nods and begins again, slower this time, feeling the weight of the blade, the pull of the bark, the whisper of fibers separating. And when he gets it right, the elder says nothing, only reaches out, squeezes his shoulder once, and goes back to his work. That is enough. Praise here is quiet, like everything else. Across the clearing, a group of young girls gathers near a patch of wildflowers. An old woman kneels among them, her hair long and white, her fingers stained with green. She plucks a single leaf from one plant, crushes it gently between her fingertips, and holds it to their noses. This one soothes burns, she says. But its sister beside it, see, the one with the spotted stem, will make you ill. The girls lean close, their brows furrowed in concentration. They repeat her words softly, almost like a song, committing them to memory. The lesson is more than herbal knowledge. It's the art of attention, of seeing difference in what looks the same, of listening to the world's quiet language. The old woman stands, brushing dirt from her knees. The plants speak, she says, but only to those who listen without hurry. You notice how every part of life here teaches something. A boy sent to fetch water learns patience, balancing the weight of the clay jar against his hip. A girl helping her mother grind corn learns rhythm, how work becomes music when done with care. Children play with sticks and stones, but their games mirror the world of adults. Small bows and arrows, tiny woven baskets, miniature lodges built from bark and grass. Through imitation, they practice the rituals of life. But the greatest teacher here is not man or woman, it is the earth itself. The children learn seasons by the taste of the wind, directions by the movement of stars, time by the shadow of the trees. They learn humility by watching storms roll across the plains, how small even the bravest heart becomes beneath thunder. They learn courage by walking barefoot in cold streams, by feeling the bite of winter and the burn of summer sun. No one tells them they belong to the land. They simply know. An elder once said, "A child's spirit is like a seed. If you press it too hard, it dies. If you give it space, it will find the light." And here, you see that wisdom made real. The adults guide gently, rarely commanding. Their authority comes not from age alone, but from example. When a child speaks, they are heard. When they err, they are corrected with patience, not punishment. A scolding would shame the spirit, and a shamed spirit grows crooked, like a tree bent from wind. In the distance, the older boys practice with their bows under the watch of a hunter. The air thuds with the soft sound of arrows striking bark. The hunter doesn't shout instructions. He lets them feel the pull of the bowstring, the weight of the arrow, the stillness needed before release. Only after many tries does he speak. The deer runs because it must live. You hunt because you must live. But the bow listens to your heart. If it's restless, the arrow will wander. One boy lowers his bow and frowns. The hunter smiles. Then rest your heart first. The forest will wait. It's a kind of teaching no book could contain, a lesson about patience, about presence. You realize these children are not only learning how to survive, they are learning how to be. Later, as the sun climbs higher, the younger ones sit in a circle near the fire. A storyteller joins them. her face lined with years, her eyes bright with mischief. The children lean close, anticipating the first words. She begins not with an explanation, but a question. Do you know how the fox learned to steal fire? A chorus of no's and giggles answers her. She grins and leans closer. Then listen, she says. Because the fox still carries smoke on his tail. Her story unfolds slowly, voice rising and falling like a psalm. The fox steals the flame from the mountain, the wind chases him, the ashes scatter across the sky, and that is why stars flicker like embers. The children gasp, laugh, interrupt, ask questions. Through story, they learn not only about the world's wonders, but about its laws, generosity, courage, cunning, balance. The tale ends, and silence follows, full of imagination. Then the storyteller points to one of the children. Tomorrow you tell it, she says. Let the fire live in your words. The child's eyes widen, half fear, half pride. The spark of a new storyteller is born. You begin to see that stories here are the textbooks of the soul. They teach without preaching, they remember without writing. Each child carries dozens of them, spoken in winter lodges, by riverbanks, around fires, until they are as much a part of the body as breath. As the afternoon wears on, the children's laughter softens into quieter play. Some help gather herbs. Some sit with their elders, repairing tools or sorting grains. Others lie on their backs, watching clouds drift lazily across the blue. A girl points upward. That one looks like a turtle, she says. Her friend squints. No, it's a bear. The elder beside them chuckles. It is both, he says, because the sky belongs to everyone's eyes. The simplicity of the moment feels vast. These children will grow into hunters, healers, mothers, chiefs. But for now, they belong only to the present, free, learning through living, their spirits untamed and open. When the sun finally dips behind the trees, the game's quiet. Families gather once more. The day's lessons have settled like dust, visible only when the light catches them just right. As the fires bloom again, you watch the children curl against their mothers, their fathers, their grandparents. The air is filled with small yawns and soft voices telling bedtime tales. The same stories they heard in the morning, retold now with a slower rhythm, the edges smoothed by fatigue. The youngest falls asleep before the ending. The oldest listens with half-closed eyes, already dreaming in myth. And you understand, here, learning never truly ends. It only changes shape, from daylight lessons to nighttime stories, from doing to dreaming. The elder who told tales of the fox stands and looks out over the sleeping children. Her lips curve into a smile. The earth is their first teacher, she whispers. But dreams are their second. The wind sighs through the trees. The stars appear again, scattered like glowing seeds across the sky. And as the village drifts into sleep, the world around it seems to listen, the river slowing its voice, the forest breathing in time with human hearts. Somewhere beyond the edge of the firelight, a drum sounds once, soft, steady. A reminder that life here is rhythm, and rhythm is memory. The children dream now, of deer and rivers, of stars and stories, of a world that speaks and listens back. And you, still awake, feel the shape of those dreams settling gently into your own heart, guiding you toward what these people have always known, that faith and learning are the same path. And that every breath, every dawn, every story told is an act of reverence. The fire crackles low. A child stirs, smiles, and sleeps. And through the slow shimmer of the embers, the next truth begins to rise. The one that hums beneath every sunrise and every prayer, whispering softly through the stillness of the night. Faith in the spirits. The night deepens until the sky feels endless, a great dark ocean stitched with stars. The fires burn low, their smoke drifting upward in thin, silver ribbons that dissolve into the heavens. Most of the village sleeps now, wrapped in the slow breathing of rest, but here and there, a few embers still glow. And within that soft glow, the line between earth and spirit begins to blur. You sit beside one of those fires. An elder crouches across from you, stirring the ashes with a stick. His face glows orange in the shifting light, ancient, serene, alive with the stillness of those who listen more than they speak. He looks at you for a long time before he says, almost in a whisper, "Everything that breathes is spirit. Even the fire. Even you." He gestures toward the sky, where a line of stars forms the shape of a bird in flight. "Our ancestors," he continues, "live there, not far away, but all around. When we speak their names, they come close to listen. When we forget them, they drift like smoke." He falls silent again, watching the sparks rise and vanish. You realize that for these people, faith is not separate from living. It is not a temple, or a sermon, or a book. It is the breath in the morning, the taste of water, the sound of wind moving through trees. The sacred is not above the world, it is the world. As the fire crackles softly, the elder begins to hum, a low sound, rhythmic and soothing. From the darkness, another voice joins him, then another. Soon, 3 generations hum together, a grandmother, her son, and his daughter. The tones rise and fall, weaving like threads of smoke. It's not a song meant to entertain. It's a song meant to connect, each note a bridge between what can be seen and what can only be felt. The little girl closes her eyes as she hums, her small hands resting in her grandmother's lap. Her voice trembles, unsure, but the elder nods with pride. "Sing to the spirits," she whispers. "They recognize the sound of your heart." You look around the sleeping village and realize, the sacred fire never truly goes out. Even when the people rest, it keeps burning, guarded by those who stay awake through the night. The fire is not only warmth, it is memory, heartbeat, prayer. It connects this world to the one beyond. Every gust of wind through the trees carries a whisper of presence, the spirits of animals once hunted, the ancestors who built the first homes, the elements themselves, all alive and aware. For the people of this land, there are no empty places. Even silence is inhabited. When dawn approaches, the world shifts again, the edge of light softens the darkness, and mist rises from the river. The elder stands and spreads a handful of tobacco leaves into the wind. "For the ones who guide us," he says. "For those we cannot see but always feel." The leaves scatter like golden birds, vanishing into the light. The village wakes slowly, as if the whole earth is exhaling. Men emerge from the lodges, their hair damp with morning dew. Women rekindle the fires, feeding them with dried bark. Children rub sleep from their eyes and step barefoot into the cool grass. But before any work begins, the people face east, toward the rising sun. You follow their gaze. The horizon blushes with color, crimson, gold, amber, spilling warmth across the land. The first rays catch on the smoke rising from each home, and for a moment, it looks as though the whole world is on fire, glowing from within. The elder begins to chant. His voice is low at first, then grows steady, filling the space between heartbeats. Others join, murmuring the words they've known since birth, words that speak of gratitude for the sun, for the sky, for the chance to live another day. It is not worship in the way you might know it. There is no pleading, no hierarchy. It is communion, a recognition of kinship. The sun is not a god to command. It is a being to honor, a relative who returns each morning to share its warmth. When the chanting ends, the elder says quietly, "This is how we remember our place, small beneath the sky, but not forgotten by it." You walk with him through the village as the light strengthens. He points to the trees. Each one holds a spirit. When we cut, we thank. He gestures to the river. She listens. Speak kindly to her. He touches the ground with his hand. This one holds our dead. Step lightly. Everywhere you look, spirit is woven through matter, not as something mystical, but as something deeply, practically known. The people move with reverence because they understand the cost of every breath. By mid-morning, the village is alive again. Children play near the water, their laughter mingling with the rush of the current. Women grind grain beside the fire, the rhythmic pounding like a heartbeat. Men repair tools, their voices low, their gestures deliberate. You realize that even these small, daily actions are prayers. Faith here is not confined to ritual. It is the ritual of living. A young woman kneels by the riverbank, gathering herbs. She murmurs softly as she cuts each stem, thanking the plant before placing it in her basket. A hunter returning from the forest stops beside her. He places a small feather in her basket, a token of respect to balance what has been taken. No words pass between them. None are needed. Later, at the edge of the forest, you find a clearing marked with small stones. In the center stands a carved pole, weathered smooth by wind and rain. Animal shapes spiral along its length: bear, eagle, serpent, turtle, each one telling part of the story of creation. Offerings of cornmeal and dried flowers lie at its base, carried by those who pass through. The air here feels thick, alive, as if the world itself leans closer to listen. An elder woman sits nearby, eyes closed, her hands resting on her knees. You watch her breathing, slow, steady. After a while, she opens her eyes and speaks softly. "When we pray," she says, "we do not ask for things. We listen. The spirits tell us what they need, and if we are wise, we answer." She smiles faintly and gestures for you to sit. "Faith," she continues, "is not believing in what is unseen. It is knowing that you are never alone." The breeze stirs the trees. You feel it on your skin, cool, clean, real. For the first time, you understand what she means. As the sun climbs higher, the village prepares for another day. The sacred smoke rises once more, carrying prayers upward in thin spirals. The elder stands at the edge of the fire and whispers something so soft you almost miss it. "May the spirits remember us as kindly as we remember them." His words dissolve into the wind. Around you, life continues, grinding, cooking, carving, laughing, all beneath the invisible gaze of the ancestors, the animals, the stars. You feel it now in your bones, the steady hum that connects all things, the pulse that binds flesh to fire, voice to river, thought to stone. Here, faith is not a fragile hope. It's a living rhythm, the sound of the world breathing through every being that walks, swims, flies, or dreams. The elder smiles, watching you listen. "You see?" he says. "The spirits are everywhere. You only need to be quiet long enough to hear them." The wind sighs. The fire crackles. The sun warms your face. And as the day stretches open before you, you feel the shape of the next mystery rising from the forest's edge. The place where faith becomes healing, where song and smoke meet the wounded body and restless soul. The air shifts, heavy with the scent of sage and wild mint. Drums begin to beat softly in the distance, slow, steady, calling. And through that rhythm, the world whispers its next secret, guiding you gently toward the circle of the healers and their chants. Toward healers and shamans. The air grows thicker as you move toward the sound of the drums. Their rhythm is slow, patient, older than words, the steady heartbeat of the earth made audible. Each beat feels alive beneath your feet, vibrating through the soil, calling something ancient to attention. You follow it through the trees until you reach a small clearing near the river, where smoke curls upward in lazy tendrils. The scent of burning sage, sweetgrass, and cedar mingles with damp air. It's sharp, sweet, grounding, the perfume of cleansing. You can hear the soft rattle of pebbles in the gourd and the murmur of voices, low and rhythmic, speaking to something unseen. The people have gathered here not to worship, but to heal. In the center sits the shaman, the medicine person, the one who stands between worlds. They wear no crown, no mark of power save the calm that surrounds them. Their hair is bound with feathers, their wrists adorned with bits of bone, seeds, and shells that click faintly as they move. Their eyes, dark, deep, unwavering, seem to see through more than skin. Beside them sits a man wrapped in a blanket, his face drawn and pale. His breathing is shallow. The people around him do not weep, they wait. Grief is not panic here. It is respect, quiet and attentive. The shaman lifts a clay bowl from the ground, filled with smoke so thick it curls like living breath. They fan it gently with a wing, the feather of a hawk used to carry prayers upward. The smoke drifts over the sick man, over his head, his chest, his heart. With each wave, the shaman chants in a low, rolling tone, a language older than memory, sung not to the man but to the spirit that clings to him. You listen carefully, but there are no clear words, only sound, vibration, intention, meaning beyond speech. The chant rises and falls like the tide, then fades into a hum. The rattles join in, their rhythm echoing the drumbeat. Around the circle, people close their eyes, breathing in time with the sound. Here, medicine is not separate from spirit. Healing begins not with the body, but with balance. Sickness, they say, is not an enemy. It is a messenger, a whisper that something within or around has fallen out of harmony. The healer's task is not to fight it, but to listen, to invite it to speak its truth. The shaman reaches for a pouch, loosens its cord, and draws out a mixture of herbs, sage, willow bark, and something darker, sweet-smelling. They crush it between smooth stones, the scent bursting warm into the air. They mix it with water from the river and raise it toward the sky. For strength, they murmur, for balance, for return. When they give it to the man to drink, he sips slowly. The liquid is bitter, but he does not flinch. The people around him begin to sing again, soft, layered voices rising like mist. It is a song of returning, of remembering the way back to wholeness. You feel the rhythm of it in your chest, not loud, not dramatic, but powerful in its steadiness. When the song ends, silence falls. The shaman sits back, their palms resting on the earth, eyes closed. For a moment, everything, wind, fire, breath, seems to pause. Then, softly, the man begins to breathe more deeply. The lines in his face loosen. His shoulders drop. The shaman opens their eyes and smiles faintly. He is walking home again, they say. The people murmur in gratitude. There is no applause, no spectacle. Only peace. You realize that this is not magic in the way stories once made you believe. It's not the bending of laws or the summoning of power, it's the restoration of relationship. Between body and soul. Between person and place. The healer rises and moves toward the fire. They scatter a handful of herbs onto the coals, and a new smoke blooms, thick and fragrant. It swirls upward, catching the sunlight in ghostly patterns. This smoke carries our thanks, the shaman says. To the plants, to the river, to the spirits who lent their voices. Their voices low, calm. Nothing heals alone. You look around, the circle of people, the trees standing silent witness, the river gliding by, and you see the truth in those words. Every element participates. The forest gives medicine, the fire gives purification, the people give song. Even the air joins, carrying prayer through its invisible currents. After a while, the shaman begins to speak again, not to heal, but to teach. Their tone is gentle, steady, filled with the patience of one who knows that truth must grow slowly, like roots in soil. Each of us carries medicine, they say. Not all heal with herbs or chants. Some heal with words, some with hands, some with laughter. Even silence can heal, if it's born from love. They pause, stirring the ashes with a stick. The smoke rises in twisting lines. But we must keep ourselves clear, they continue. When anger settles in the body, it clouds the spirit. When we forget gratitude, we forget the way back. They point toward the river. Water teaches us. It flows around what blocks it. It finds a path, even through stone. That is how we must live, not fighting, but moving, cleansing, renewing. Their words hang in the air, glowing like embers. You can feel their weight, not as command, but as invitation. The sick man rises slowly to his feet, steadier now. He bows his head to the shaman, then to the fire, then to the circle of faces around him. The others step forward. One offers a woven band, another a handful of berries, small tokens of gratitude. No one speaks loudly. Healing has its own quiet language. The drums begin again, this time faster, not solemn, but alive, pulsing with joy. The people begin to dance, their feet stirring dust, their bodies moving in rhythm with the beat. The shaman joins them, arms outstretched, hair flying loose. Laughter bursts through the clearing. The air hums. Even the river seems to sing. The dance grows until it feels like the whole forest is moving, branches swaying, fire snapping, smoke spiraling upward. You can feel the pulse of the earth rising through your feet, joining the rhythm, uniting everything in one wild, sacred heartbeat. Then, slowly, the drumming fades. The dancing stops. The circle quiets again. The shaman stands by the fire, sweat shining on their forehead, breathing steady. They look out at the people and say simply, "We are whole." No other words are needed. The sun is climbing high now, painting the smoke gold. You walk with the shaman toward the river. The air is fresh, cool on your skin. They kneel, scoop a handful of water, and pour it over their hands. The river carries everything away. They say, pain, fear, sickness, even joy. It keeps nothing. That is its strength. They offer you the same water. You dip your fingers into it, feeling its chill, its movement. When you let it fall back, the ripples spread outward, glimmering. The shaman watches them fade and smiles. So it is with healing, they whisper. It begins small, but it touches everything. You stay by the water for a while, the sounds of the forest wrapping around you, birds calling, leaves rustling, distant laughter from the village. The smell of sage still lingers on your hands. The air feels different now, lighter, clearer. Somewhere deep inside, something has shifted. The shaman turns to go, the beads on their wrists clinking softly. You watch them walk back toward the village, their figure dissolving slowly into the haze of smoke and sunlight. Behind them, the fire still burns, steady, eternal. Its flame, like faith itself, bridging the seen and unseen, the living and the remembered. And as the smoke curls upward, joining sky and spirit, you feel the story moving with it, guiding you back toward the heart of the village. Toward the flame that never dies. Toward the sacred fire. The sun is higher now, but its heat feels softened, filtered through a thin veil of smoke rising from the center of the village. You follow the scent of cedar and sweetgrass, the gentle crackle of flame, and soon you see it. The sacred fire. It burns within a circle of stones, tended always, guarded always. No one remembers who first lit it, or when, only that it must never be allowed to die. Its flame has seen births and deaths, feasts and famines, songs and silences. It is not simply fire. It is the heartbeat of the people. Around it, the air hums with life. Children move quietly nearby, carrying armfuls of wood. They set the branches down carefully, no loud voices, no haste. An elder kneels, stirring the embers with a stick carved smooth by years of use. Every movement is ritual, every breath deliberate. The fire speaks in its own language, the hiss of sap, the sigh of smoke, the sharp crack of splitting bark. Each sound is familiar, like an old friend's whisper. You crouch beside the elder as they add a log to the flames. Sparks leap upward, scattering like tiny spirits into the morning air. The elder's eyes, deep and bright, reflect the shifting orange glow. This fire, they say softly, was born with our people. It carries our memory. It listens to every word spoken in its light. You watch as the flames curl and twist, alive and hungry, yet somehow peaceful. The elder continues, "When we pray, we do not send our words into the sky. We give them to the fire. It knows the way. Beside the circle, women are preparing food for the midday meal, stirring pots, cutting roots, roasting corn. Children dart between them, delivering water from the river. Even this, too, feels part of the ceremony. The way the smoke of the sacred fire mingles with the scent of food, the way laughter drifts through the heat. One of the women pauses, her face glowing with sweat and light. She tosses a pinch of cornmeal into the flames. For our ancestors, she murmurs. The fire crackles in reply, and the smoke rises straight into the windless sky. The elder smiles faintly. The fire eats what we offer, they say. But it gives back warmth, light, and remembrance. That is balance. You notice how everyone moves in harmony around it, not as if commanded, but as if drawn by invisible gravity. Even the dogs lie near the edge of the circle, heads resting on their paws, eyes half closed, as though keeping watch. Every morning and every evening, the people gather here, to speak, to sing, to decide, to remember. The fire witnesses all. When a child is born, the parents bring them to this circle. The baby's name is whispered into the smoke, so the ancestors will know it. When a couple joins in union, they circle the fire together, their hands bound by cord, the flame reflected in their eyes. When someone dies, a coal from the sacred fire is carried to the burial place, to light the spirit's path home. You begin to understand why the fire is never allowed to die. If it did, something far deeper than warmth would be lost. The elder picks up a small bundle tied with red cord, sage, cedar, tobacco, and sweetgrass. They light its end, and smoke unfurls like a living thread. This, they say, is how we cleanse what the fire reveals. The smoke carries away what we no longer need: sorrow, anger, confusion. The flame shows us these things, but it also consumes them. They pass the bundle through the air, letting the smoke drift around your shoulders. It smells of earth and sky at once, sharp, sweet, impossible to forget. You feel lighter, though you cannot say why. Nearby, a group of young people sits in a half-circle, listening to another elder speak. His voice is deep and even, made for storytelling. Fire, he tells them, is both giver and taker. It can feed you, or destroy you. That is why we must treat it as kin. Never take from it without thanks. Never forget its hunger. He gestures toward the flames. See how it moves? Always reaching upward, never staying still. That is how the spirit should live, always seeking, always growing, never rooted in one place too long. The young ones nod solemnly, their faces glowing in the light. You notice that when someone steps close, they always pause first, bowing their heads slightly. It's not fear. It's recognition of power, of life, of something that belongs to both this world and the next. The elder lifts a coal from the edge of the fire with a stick and places it carefully into a smaller bowl. A young girl steps forward and takes the bowl with both hands. Her expression is serious, proud. She walks toward another lodge at the edge of the village, where a new family will light their home fire for the first time. You follow at a distance. When she arrives, she kneels and blows gently over the coal until a small flame flickers to life. The family gathers around her, the mother, father, their infant swaddled in soft hide. The elder who accompanied her says a few words. From the fire that lives for all, this flame now lives for you. Keep it well. Feed it kindly. The mother adds a stick of cedar. The flame brightens. And just like that, another life joins the circle. You return to the main fire, and the elder greets you again, handing you a wooden ladle filled with water. Pour it near the stones, they say. Not on the flame. The fire drinks through the earth. You do as told, and steam rises where the water meets the hot stones. It smells faintly of minerals and sap, raw, alive. The elder nods approvingly. The fire and the water, they say, are opposites that remember each other. When one speaks, the other listens. The words settle deep within you. As the afternoon stretches on, people come and go from the circle. Some bring offerings, dried herbs, carved figures, bits of food. Others simply sit and stare into the light, speaking silently to those who have gone before. The smoke rises straight and unwavering, threading through the air like a path to the unseen. You sit for a long time, hypnotized by the movement of the flames, their constant reaching, their endless motion. You think of how many hands have warmed themselves here, how many voices have shared stories, how many hearts have whispered prayers into this same smoke. And you realize this fire is not just old. It is eternal, because it is tended by memory. The elder beside you stirs the embers again and says, "When we sit by the fire, we are never alone. Our ancestors sit with us. The first spark they struck is still alive here." You glance into the heart of the fire and see it, the glow that never fades, the color of time itself. As dusk approaches, the people begin to gather again. The air cools, the shadows lengthen. Someone brings a drum, someone else a flute. The sound rises, gentle but certain, weaving through the smoke like a second kind of fire, one made of sound. The elder lifts both hands. The day ends, they say, but the flame endures. It burns not only in this place, but in each of us. Keep it there, always. The drumbeat deepens, echoing through the village. Children sit on their parents' knees. The dogs raise their heads. The smoke turns blue against the falling light. And as darkness gathers, the fire becomes the sun of the night, the center of all things, blazing with the quiet certainty of purpose. It burns for those who came before. It burns for those not yet born. It burns for everything that remembers. The stars bloom overhead, one by one, like sparks thrown from the fire's heart. The people sing, not loudly, not in unison, but in harmony with the night itself. Each voice carries warmth. Each note feeds the flame. You sit there, eyes half closed, listening. The heat touches your skin, steady and kind. The smoke curls upward into infinity. And somewhere, in the space between the crackle of the fire and the hum of human voices, you hear it. The world breathing in perfect balance. The fire flares once more, golden and alive. The elder's voice drifts through the dark. Tomorrow, the sun will rise from this same light. The people nod, their faces glowing like embers. And as you watch the sparks drift toward the stars, you feel yourself being carried with them, into the rhythm of drums, into the echo of footsteps that become dance, into the living pulse of celebration. The circle widens, the night begins to move, and the story flows onward, seamless as breath, into songs and dances. The night has deepened, but the air is far from still. The sacred fire burns like a sun reborn, a living heart of light in the center of the dark. Its glow paints faces in gold and amber, and around it, the people gather again, not to speak now, but to move. The drum begins first. A single beat, slow and steady. Then another. Then a rhythm forms, deep, pulsing, alive. It's not just sound anymore. It's movement made audible. You feel it in the soles of your feet before you hear it in your ears, the vibration traveling up through your legs, into your chest, until it seems your heart beats with it. The drummers sit in a small circle just beyond the firelight. Their faces are focused, serene. Their hands rise and fall in unison, striking the hide with perfect rhythm. The sound is ancient, the voice of thunder remembered in wood and skin. Each strike echoes through the trees, calling the night to listen. From the shadows, a flute joins, its tone high, trembling, like wine through hollow reeds. It weaves through the drumbeats, not competing but answering, the two sounds braiding together like smoke. Then, from all around, voices begin to rise. Low at first, hums, murmurs, a kind of whispering song, and then louder, fuller, until the air itself seems to vibrate with it. The men's voices roll deep as the earth. The women's float above them like starlight. Children's laughter threads between, light and fleeting, turning the music into something alive, breathing, No one conducts. No one commands. The song shapes itself, the way a river finds its course. And then, the dancing begins. A young man steps into the circle, his feet bare against the cool ground. He moves slowly at first, his body following the drum's rhythm, each step deliberate, each turn fluid. Then another joins, then another. Soon, the entire circle is moving, feet stamping, beads rattling, feathers trembling with motion. The fire's light catches on everything, on the sheen of sweat, on the gleam of painted faces, on the curve of raised arms. The dancers move not to perform, but to become. Every movement tells something. You can see it in the gestures, the hand mimicking the flight of a hawk, the body bending low like grass in wind, the stamping feet echoing the hooves of the buffalo. These are not just dances. They are stories, of hunt and harvest, of love and courage, of the circle that binds all living things. One dance tells of the deer, whose spirit teaches swiftness and grace. Another honors the bear, the guardian of strength. Another speaks of the stars, how they fell once, long ago, to teach humankind the rhythm of the seasons. Each dancer carries the story in their body, their breath, their heartbeat. The song changes with them, swelling and softening, matching their steps. You can feel the world around you responding, the trees swaying with invisible wind, the river humming faintly in the distance, even the night birds calling in rhythm with the drum. It is as if the entire land joins the celebration, remembering itself through sound and movement. An elder woman steps forward next. Her hair is white, her movements slow, but the space around her stills when she enters. The drummers soften their rhythm, giving her time. She begins a small, circular dance, her feet barely leaving the ground. Each turn is a prayer, each sway a whisper to the spirits. Her arms rise gently toward the firelight, fingers trembling, tracing unseen shapes in the air. The song that follows her is quieter, almost a lullaby. When she finishes, she stands still for a moment, hands pressed over her heart. The younger dancers bow their heads to her, not in pity, but in reverence. Because here, age does not remove you from the dance. It deepens it. The rhythm quickens again. The drums thunder now, fierce and alive. Sparks leap high into the dark, carried upward by wind and song. The dancers spin faster, their voices rising with the tempo until they sound like waves crashing, or wings beating. It's impossible to stand still. Even those who do not dance begin to sway, to tap their palms against their thighs, to join the rhythm with their breath. You feel it pulling at you too, the irresistible call of life and motion. You take a step forward. The earth is cool beneath your feet, firm and welcoming. Another step, the drumbeat syncs with your pulse. Soon, you're moving too, not as an outsider watching, but as a heartbeat among heartbeats. No one notices the moment you join, because no one needs to. The circle accepts you instantly, folding you into its rhythm like a wave taking in a drop of rain. The world outside this firelight vanishes. There are no years, no names, no boundaries, only rhythm, movement, breath, and flame. In that moment, you understand why the people dance. Not to display joy, but to remember it. Not to escape life, but to inhabit it fully. The songs are their history, carried not in ink but in the body. Each melody holds a season, a victory, a sorrow. Each rhythm recalls footsteps worn into the earth by generations before. When the song finally slows, the dancers stop one by one, their chests heaving, faces glistening with sweat. The drummers let their hands rest, the last echo fading into silence. For a long moment, no one moves. The fire pops once, throwing sparks into the air. The silence that follows feels as sacred as the song. Then the elder speaks. Her voice is soft, rasping with age, but clear. "Every song we sing is a bridge," she says. "It carries our words to the ones who came before, and brings their voices back to us." She smiles faintly, her eyes shining in the firelight. "When we dance, the earth remembers our steps, When we stop, she still holds their shape. Around the circle, heads nod. Someone adds wood to the fire. Flames rise again, brighter than before. A young mother lifts her baby from a cradle and brings it close to the warmth. She hums one of the songs under her breath, slower now, softer, the rhythm of a heartbeat, the melody of sleep. The baby's eyes flutter shut. The song becomes part of its first dreams. Others begin to hum as well, not the fierce rhythm of the earlier dance, but something calm, circular, tender. The sound spreads slowly, like ripples across still water. Above, the stars glitter brighter, the moon silvering the river. The fire burns steady, the smoke rising straight into the night. The world feels perfectly balanced, movement and stillness, joy and peace, voice and silence. You realize that in this place, music is not entertainment. It's remembrance, a way to keep the universe awake. Because when the people sing, the spirits answer. When the people dance, the earth stirs beneath their feet. The elder closes her eyes and whispers one final thought. Every beat, every breath, every song, all are prayers in disguise. Her words drift into the night like smoke. The drums are quiet now, but you can still feel their rhythm, faint, steady, pulsing in your chest. The dancers sit near the fire, shoulders touching, faces soft with the glow of flame. The village exhales, a single living being settling into rest. The songs fade, but their echoes linger, woven into the air, into the trees, into you. And as the stars turn slowly overhead, the fire's glow deepens to gold, then to ember. In that soft, perfect stillness, you understand, music and movement were never just for celebration. They were the laws of existence themselves, harmony, rhythm, respect. The elder's words come again, almost as thought, almost as wind. When the song ends, we must still live by its rhythm. The fire breathes, the night listens, and the earth seems to nod. And from that deep stillness, another truth begins to rise, one that hums in the bones of every living thing. That life must be guided not only by rhythm, but by honor. The flames flicker once more, and the story carries you onward. From the music of the night to the quiet strength of the heart. Toward the law of honor. The last echoes of the drums still hang in the air, long after the final beat has faded. The fire burns lower now, quieter, deeper, its light softer, more thoughtful than before. The dancers have settled around it, some leaning back on their hands, others lying flat against the earth, eyes turned upward to the sky that now burns with stars. It is in this quiet, between song and sleep, that the elders speak of the thing that binds all songs, all hunts, all lives, the law of honor. The village is calm, wrapped in the warm hush of embers and breath. A soft wind moves through the trees, carrying with it the scent of cedar smoke and river mist. The elders sit near the sacred fire, their faces painted with the same glow as the coals. Children curl near their parents, half asleep but listening, because these words are not for adults alone. They are for anyone who wishes to live with a clean spirit. The eldest among them, a man whose hair gleams like silver threads in the firelight, begins to speak. His voice is slow and low, carrying the weight of time. Every living thing, he says, is bound by a law. Not the law of punishment or paper, but the law of respect. He pauses, poking at the fire with a stick, sending a few sparks spiraling into the night. We call it the law of honor. It lives not in the mouth, but in the heart. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. But you can feel when you've broken it. The circle around him is silent, the kind of silence that listens. In the old way, he continues, there were no jails, no written codes, no king's decree. A person's word was their shield, their actions, their story. To lie was to break yourself. To steal was to forget who you were. He looks at the faces before him, young and old, curious and weary. When you took from the earth, you gave back. When you spoke, you meant your words. When you promised, you stood by it, even when it hurt. That was our law. And those who could not live by it, they carried the weight of their dishonor alone. He draws a line in the dirt with his stick. This is how a man must walk straight, between what he says and what he does. If his path twists, he loses his shadow. The younger listeners glance at one another. One boy, bold with curiosity, asks softly, "Grandfather, what happens when someone breaks the law of honor?" The elder nods, as if he's heard this question 1,000 times. They are not cast out. Not at once. They are given time to remember. He leans forward, eyes glinting. Punishment is not the way. Reflection is. The dishonored one must sit apart from the village, not in anger, but in silence, until they can hear the sound of their own heart again. Only then do they return to the circle. Another elder, a woman whose braids hang heavy with beads, speaks next. "Because the circle must stay whole," she says. "If one breaks away, we do not cut them off. We wait until they find the way back." Her words hang in the air like gentle smoke. You realize that justice here is not about fear or control. It is about restoration, the returning of balance to what was disturbed. The fire snaps softly, sending a spark high into the dark. It drifts upward, a single glowing ember against the stars. The old man follows it with his eyes. "Even the smallest flame," he murmurs, "can light a dark path. So too can a single act of honor heal what was lost." He turns toward you then, or maybe it only feels that way, and his gaze holds steady. "Remember this, courage is not in killing, nor in shouting the loudest. It is in standing by truth when no one is watching. That is what keeps the world steady. You can feel the truth of it settle like a stone in your chest, heavy, grounding." A young woman beside the fire begins to speak, her voice soft but certain. "In our stories," she says, "honor is not a prize. It is a path. The hunter who kills too much forgets it. The warrior who fights without reason betrays it. Even the mother who hoards food while her neighbor starves will lose her spirit's peace." Her eyes lift to the fire. "But when you give what you can, even when it's small, the ancestors see. They remember." An elder nods beside her. "They remember every good act, not in words, but in the way the world treats you. A kind heart brings kind days. A deceitful one brings storms. You realize how different this is from the justice you've known. No judges, no punishments, no decrees. Only the quiet weight of accountability, carried within." A boy across the fire frowns thoughtfully. "What about the brave ones?" he asks. "The warriors? The hunters? How do they live with honor when they must kill?" The elders exchange a glance, and the woman answers, "By remembering that courage is not cruelty. To face danger with fear still in your chest, that is bravery. But to take life without need, that is forgetting the law." She leans closer to the boy. "The bravest ones cry after the hunt. Not from weakness, but from gratitude. They remember the life that was given. They honor it." The boy nods, his eyes wide, understanding something new about strength. A long silence follows. The fire hisses. Sparks drift upward, vanishing into the stars that seem to lean closer, listening. Then the old man speaks once more. "Honor lives in the small things," he says. "In how you greet the dawn, in how you treat a stranger, in how you speak when no one hears you. The world watches even when you think it does not." He looks at his hands, worn, scarred, strong. "These hands have hunted. They have built. They have buried. But the only thing that will matter when I return to the earth is whether they ever struck without cause." He closes his fingers slowly, the firelight flickering across his skin. "You see," he whispers, "the law of honor is not taught. It is remembered. It already lives inside us. We are born knowing what is right, but we must live long enough, and listen deeply enough, to hear it again." A child yawns, the sound small and innocent in the vast night. The elders smile. The conversation softens, winding down like the embers. The youngest elder, her voice thin but still sure, speaks one final time. When the people forget honor, the earth grows sick. When they remember it, the rivers clear again. Because we are not separate from the world's balance, we are the balance. Her words fall like gentle rain, soaking into the soil of silence that follows. You look around the circle, faces glowing orange in the dying firelight, eyes reflecting both wisdom and fatigue. The law of honor lives here, not in fear or force, but in the simple understanding that every action echoes. To live with integrity is to live in harmony with all things. A breeze stirs the ashes, carrying the faint smell of cedar and smoke toward the dark horizon. Someone adds a final log to the fire, and it flares briefly, golden, breathing, alive. The elders rise slowly, one by one. Children are carried to their beds. The dogs stretch and yawn. The night sighs with quiet contentment. You remain seated for a while, watching the coals pulse red, fading slowly, rhythmically, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. And you think of all that has been spoken: respect, courage, truth, patience. These are not laws written in stone, but the fibers that hold the world together. The fire dims further. A single ember remains, glowing faintly in the dark. You feel, rather than hear, the old man's final words drifting through the smoke. Live so that when your shadow fades, the world keeps your shape. The ember flickers once more, then settles into quiet. Above, the stars shine with steady light, ancient witnesses to the unbroken circle of life, of promise, of honor. And as the night deepens, a new pulse rises from beyond the firelight, the rhythm of challenge, of endurance, of becoming. The time has come for the young to prove themselves, to walk alone, to find their strength not in defiance, but in understanding. The air grows cooler. The forest waits, silent and expectant. And you feel the story moving with the wind, guiding you away from the safety of the fire and into the raw, testing dark of the wilderness, toward trials of strength. The last ember of the sacred fire glows behind you as you walk into the trees. The air grows colder, sharper, alive with the whisper of unseen life. Your breath rises in pale clouds. The moonlight threads through branches like strands of silver hair. Here, away from the warmth and laughter of the village, the night feels heavier, older. This is where strength is tested, not the strength of body alone, but of spirit. The elders call it the walking. When a young one reaches the edge of childhood and feels the pull of adulthood rising like thunder under the ribs, they are sent into solitude. No weapons but what their hands can shape. No food but what the land offers freely. No company but their thoughts, and the eyes of the spirits who watch unseen. It is not punishment. It is becoming. You see them now, a small group of young people gathered at the edge of the forest, faces painted with ash and earth. Each carries a small bundle, a knife, a flint, a feather, a piece of bone or wood carved by their family. The elders stand before them, silent, their expressions unreadable in the moonlight. An old woman steps forward. Her voice is quiet, but it cuts through the night like a clean blade. "Go into the dark," she says, "and meet yourself. If you return, bring not what you have killed, but what you have learned." She gestures toward the forest, and one by one, the young ones disappear into the trees. Their footsteps fade quickly, swallowed by the living hush of leaves and wind. You follow one, a boy not yet grown, his shoulders tense with determination. His breath is quick, but his eyes are clear. He walks until the sounds of the village are gone, until even the glow of the fire is just a memory. Then he stops, listening to the forest breathe. The night is alive with quiet things, the rustle of small animals, the hoot of an owl, the creak of branches shifting under their own weight. Every sound feels amplified, as if the world is testing his nerves, reminding him of his smallness. He kneels beside a fallen log, strikes his flint until sparks bloom, and builds a small fire. The light flickers over his face, young, uncertain, but brave. He eats nothing. He speaks to no one. He just sits, staring into the flame as if waiting for the night to reveal its lesson. And in time it does. It begins with silence, deep, absolute, the kind that presses against your ears. Then comes the whisper of fear, the kind that doesn't come from outside, but from within. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if the spirits turn away? The questions rise like smoke. He breathes through them. Hours pass. The fire dwindles to embers. The forest grows colder. He pulls his cloak tighter, watching the stars burn above the treetops. Somewhere in the distance, wolves cry, not close, but near enough to remind him that he is part of something vast and wild. He remembers the words of his grandfather. The forest does not care if you are strong. It only asks that you listen. So he listens. He hears the sigh of the river in the dark, the soft clatter of stones shifting underwater. He hears the beating of his own heart, fast at first, then slower, steadier. And slowly, he begins to understand. This trial is not about conquering the wilderness. It is about becoming part of it. By the second day, hunger gnaws at him. His body trembles with fatigue. He finds berries near the riverbank, roots under a fallen tree. He thanks them before taking them, just as he was taught. He drinks from the stream, the water cold and sweet, and feels it spread through him like light. When rain begins to fall, he builds shelter, branches bent into a low frame, leaves layered thick for cover. He works with patience, not frustration. Each motion feels guided, as if the forest itself is teaching him. At night, when the rain stops and mist coils low across the ground, he dreams. In his dream, a wolf walks beside him, silent, watchful. It does not threaten. It only looks at him, its eyes bright as flame. When he wakes, the world feels sharper, more real. He whispers into the dark, "I see you." 3 days pass. He begins to move differently now, slower, but sure. His fear has changed shape. It's no longer an enemy but a companion, keeping him alert, reminding him that life is precious only because it can be lost. He builds another fire that night. The flames dance high, snapping and hissing in the damp air. He places a handful of herbs into the smoke, ones his mother gave him, tied in a small pouch before he left. For courage, she had said. For clarity. The scent fills the clearing, sharp, green, and clean. He sits cross-legged, staring into the heart of the flame. The smoke curls upward, and for a moment, he sees shapes forming, faces of those he loves, the shimmer of stars reflected in water, the endless turning of the world. He speaks softly, not to anyone but to the fire itself. "I am here," he says. "I am still here." And something, wind, flame, spirit, or memory, seems to answer in return. When dawn breaks on the 4th day, he is changed. Not older in years, but older in knowing. He moves with a quiet grace now, his body and the forest moving as one. He no longer startles at noise, no longer hurries his steps. He carries the calm of the earth in his breath. At the edge of the woods, he stops and looks back. The fire is gone, only ashes remain. He kneels, scoops a handful, and lets them fall through his fingers. Then he turns toward the village. The walk back is long. The air grows warmer. The sound of distant voices drifts through the trees, familiar, welcoming. When he steps into the clearing, the people gather silently. The elders study him for a long moment. They do not ask what he saw, or what he felt. They only nod. The old woman who sent him off touches his cheek with her palm, rough and warm. "You have met yourself," she says simply. "Now you belong to all things." The others step forward, his friends, his family. They smile, but no one claps or cheers. They know the weight of what he carries. the understanding that strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to stand within it. The celebration is gentle, food shared, songs sung low, a new fire lit from the sacred flame. The young man sits beside it, silent, watching the smoke rise. In his eyes is something you cannot name, something fierce, but tender. It is not pride. It is peace. And as the night folds around the village once more, you realize every person here has walked that same path, through fear, through hunger, through solitude, and returned bearing the same quiet truth. That the greatest trial is not to survive the wilderness, but to learn you are part of it. The drum begins again, slow, steady, a heartbeat under the stars. The fire sways with its rhythm, and you can feel the story turning with it, the circle closing, then opening again, as it always does. The trials are over now. The young have become the keepers of the old rhythm. And the people, once again whole, turn their faces toward the horizon, where dawn will come to meet them. The elder's voice drifts through the air, faint and steady. Strength is not in what you conquer. It is in what you understand. The flames bend in the wind, and the night exhales. The circle tightens, not in endings, but in renewal. Every face glows in the same warm light. And as you listen to the rustle of leaves, to the faint hum of wind through grass, you know that the story has only one direction left to go, back into the soft, forgiving heart of the earth. Back toward harmony. Back toward endings that are not endings at all. The fire flickers once, twice. The drum slows. And the story moves gently onward, as all things must, toward harmony and endings. Dawn returns softly, as if it has been walking toward the village all night, patient and unhurried. The last stars fade, one by one, into the pale blush of morning. Mist rises from the river, drifting low across the earth like breath from the sleeping world. The drums are quiet now. Only the whisper of water, the murmur of waking voices, and the soft rustle of leaves in the wind remain. The young ones who have returned from the forest sit near the sacred fire, their eyes half closed, faces calm. Their solitude has become strength, but not the kind that conquers, the kind that listens. And as the village stirs to life around them, everything feels slower, fuller, as though the world itself has drawn a deep, satisfied breath. The fire burns steadily in its stone cradle, the color of dawn caught in flame. An elder tends to it, adding new wood with care. All things, she says softly, must be fed, not just with food, but with gratitude. Her words drift through the smoke like prayer. You can feel their truth in the air, in the way the people move, each gesture deliberate, each sound belonging. Harmony is not something they chase. It is something they remember. The men set out early, not to hunt, but to walk the borders of their fields, to speak to the earth and see what it needs. The women move through the gardens, fingers brushing the leaves, checking the health of the soil. Children carry water from the stream, their laughter rippling like sunlight across the morning. Every person, every task, every breath belongs to the same rhythm. And you begin to see that harmony here is not perfection. It's not stillness or silence. It's motion, but motion in balance. The wind moves through trees, and they sway but do not break. The river bends, but always finds its way home. The people, too, bend, to season, to loss, to time, but they do not forget who they are. You walk with one of the elders through the fields, the dew wetting your ankles, the smell of earth rich and sweet. She stops beside a tall stalk of corn, her hand resting lightly on its leaves. See how they lean toward one another? She says. They grow strong because they grow together. She turns her gaze toward the horizon. That is the way of harmony, not one standing above, but all standing beside. You remember the stories told by the fire, of the three sisters, of the sacred hunts, of the spirits in the wind, and realize that they were all teaching this same truth. That nothing survives alone. As the day stretches open, the air warms, filled with the hum of bees, the songs of birds, the rhythmic scrape of hands at work. Children chase shadows between the lodges. Women sing softly as they grind corn. Men laugh quietly while repairing a canoe by the river's edge. The sounds overlap without clashing, like threads in a single woven cloth. You sit for a while by the water. The current slides past smooth and endless, its surface flashing silver where the sun touches it. Across the river, trees bow their branches toward the light, their reflections rippling below. And for a brief, perfect moment, you can't tell which world is real, the one above the water or the one below it. It is then you understand, balance is not the absence of difference, but the dance between them. The sky and the river, the light and the shadow, the living and the gone, all parts of one breathing whole. The elder beside you dips her hand into the river, letting the water run through her fingers. When we die, she says, this is what we become, movement, not memory. The body returns to the earth, the breath to the wind, the spirit to the circle. Her words do not sound like sorrow. They sound like peace. In the distance, a flute begins to play, a slow, wandering melody that drifts over the village. The sound feels like time itself, winding between morning and noon, between birth and return. People pause in their work to listen. Even the birds seem quieter, as if giving space for the music to pass. You notice how easily life flows here from one thing to another, from labor to laughter, from silence to song, from beginning to ending without rupture or regret. The same hands that plant will one day be buried in the same soil, and still the corn will rise. The same fire that cooks the meal today will light the way for the dead tomorrow. Everything gives back. Everything continues. When the sun reaches its highest point, the people gather again at the fire. They share food, venison stew, roasted corn, berries bright as blood. Children bring bowls to the elders first, then to their parents, then to one another. The act of eating feels like ceremony, not feasting, but giving thanks to the body. The elder raises her bowl toward the sky. We eat because the earth allows it, she says. We breathe because the trees forgive us. We live because all things live with us. The words are simple, but their weight fills the air. The people bow their heads, murmuring gratitude not to a distant god, but to the ground beneath them, the wind above, the fire between. After the meal, they rest. The children doze in the shade. The elders tell stories in low voices, not new tales, but old ones, worn smooth by years of repetition, like stones polished by the river. One story tells of a time before humans, when the world was quiet but lonely. Another speaks of a future yet to come, when the stars will fall to earth and light it anew. Each story ends the same way, not with triumph or loss, but with a return to balance. You sit and listen until your thoughts slow, until even your heartbeat feels like part of the rhythm around you. You realize that harmony here is not taught in words or ceremonies. It is absorbed through living, through listening, through patience, through gratitude. As the sun begins to lower, the light turns golden again. The river glows like molten glass. The trees seem to breathe deeper. The people gather once more to tend the sacred fire, to sing the songs that close the day. Their voices rise together, soft at first, then fuller, rounder, a sound of contentment rather than celebration. The song has no beginning, no end, just a circular melody that feels as old as the world itself. It carries the day's story, its work, its joy, its quiet moments, back to the sky. The elder leans close to you, her eyes reflecting the fire. This is the rhythm of life, she says. To live is to move in circles, of day and night, of birth and death, of giving and taking. Harmony is knowing that none of these things truly end. The fire pops softly, throwing up a spray of sparks. One lands on your arm, a brief sting, then warmth, then nothing. A reminder that even pain here belongs. The people's song fades. The sky deepens from gold to indigo. A breeze stirs the grass, carrying the smell of earth cooling for night. The children are carried inside. The elders sit a while longer, watching the fire's slow breathing. And you stay with them, eyes heavy, heart quiet. The stars return, steady and eternal, above the smoke. The circle continues, unbroken, unending, alive. And in that moment, as you listen to the whisper of the fire and the hush of the river, you feel it, the deep, unwavering peace of balance restored. Tomorrow will bring new work, new hunts, new songs. But tonight all is still. The world hums with quiet satisfaction, and you know that you are part of it, not apart from it. The elder closes her eyes, murmuring a final blessing that drifts like smoke into the dark. May you walk in balance. May your heart be light. May your steps remember the earth. The last log collapses inward, sending a final burst of sparks into the night. They rise, vanish, and become stars once more. And you realize, this is not an ending. It is the breathe between one life and the next. The hush before another dawn. The heartbeat that never stops. The circle holds. The story breathes. And somewhere, deep within that stillness, another truth begins to stir. The understanding that though you have walked among them, seen their lives and their grace, you could never truly endure as they did, nor live as simply, nor love as fiercely. The fire has burned low again, its glow now soft as the inside of a shell. Only embers remain, pulsing, breathing, as though the earth itself inhales beneath them. The village sleeps. The river hums quietly in the dark. Above, the stars have returned, countless, patient, familiar. You sit by the fire's last warmth, watching smoke coil upward and vanish into the cold air. The night has weight, but not heaviness, only depth, as if it holds everything you've seen, the morning's mist, the laughter of children, the hunt, the songs, the quiet truths spoken beside the flame. And you realize you've walked through an entire day, not just in this place, but in another way of being. The people of the land sleep lightly, their breaths even and soft. No walls seal them from the wind. No clock hurries their dreams. Only the rhythm of the earth keeps time. You listen to that rhythm, the whisper of grass, the faint splash of water, the sigh of fire turning to ash. Every sound belongs. Every silence means something. And you think, how easily you would break this peace. You came here imagining survival, building fires, hunting, sleeping beneath stars. But to live here is not survival. It is surrender. And surrender is something your world has forgotten how to do. You think of your own mornings, alarms, screens, the hum of electricity instead of birdsong. The ease of water flowing from a tap instead of from a river cupped in your hands. The idea of warmth at the twist of a dial, light at the flick of a switch. All miracles that cost nothing of you. Here, nothing is free. Every flame must be earned with wood, every meal with labor, every rest with gratitude. Here, comfort is not a right. It is a gift, one the people never take without giving thanks. You feel the cold settling deeper into your skin, sharper now that the fire is small. You imagine waking tomorrow without the shelter of technology, without the sound of engines, without the glow of screens that make night feel less dark. Would you know how to gather wood before frost hardens your fingers? Would you know how to speak to the fire, not command it, but coax it to life? Would you know how to listen to hunger, not as a complaint, but as a reminder that you are alive? The truth rises like the wind off the river. You wouldn't last a day. Not because of weakness, but because of distance, the quiet gulf between the modern mind and the ancient rhythm that once kept all people alive. The people of this land do not conquer nature. They belong to it. Every sunrise is a prayer, every meal, a ritual. Even their silence has purpose. It is how they listen to the world that sustains them. You remember the hunter kneeling before the deer he had killed, whispering thanks. The women tending the fire through the night, their songs soft and endless. The children learning patience by watching, not speaking. The healer murmuring to the smoke, knowing that every sickness carries its own story. The elder telling you, The world watches even when you think it does not. Each of them has lived what you have only touched, the understanding that to live well is to live aware. You look up. The stars are still there, silent, sharp, unchanging. The same stars they've looked upon for generations, the same that guided the hunters home, the same that watched over the first fires, the first births, the first stories whispered to sleeping children. You realize how small you are, how small all of us have become, behind our walls of glass and wire and noise. Once, humanity looked up and saw family in the sky, ancestors in the constellations, spirits in the wind, purpose in the passing of seasons. Now we look up and see only distance. You wonder what it would take to remember. To wake before dawn and feel the cold as a teacher, not an enemy. To work for warmth, to listen to silence, to greet the sun not with indifference but with awe. Perhaps that is the trial your world has yet to pass, not the test of endurance, but of humility. To remember that comfort is not the same as harmony. That to be alive is not enough, you must also belong. A breeze stirs the ashes, carrying faint sparks into the air. You watch them rise, drift, and disappear. For a moment, you think of all the things that vanished before you ever noticed they were gone. The language of birds, the meaning of firelight, the slow, wordless trust between human and earth. You close your eyes, and in the darkness behind them, you see again the faces of the people, calm, strong, unhurried. You hear the drumbeat echoing faintly in your chest. You feel the ground beneath you, steady, patient, alive. And you understand that though you may not live as they did, you can still remember them, not as relics, but as reminders. That balance is not a myth. That reverence is not weakness. That the world does not belong to us, we belong to the world. The fire flickers once more, a last breath before sleep. Its glow reflects faintly on your hands. For a heartbeat, you imagine yourself part of the circle, another shadow in the light, another spirit among spirits. Then the wind rises, carrying the final smoke toward the stars. The embers dim. The forest exhales. The village rests. And as the world settles into its great, gentle silence, you feel the truth of everything you've seen. They lived with less, but were more. They carried no clocks, no titles, no possessions beyond what was needed. And yet they held in their hands something far heavier than wealth. A purpose that did not need to be named. They knew that the fire within and the fire of the world are one and the same. That to keep one alive, you must feed the other. You rise slowly, stepping away from the dying coals. Your feet leave faint prints in the cold soil, prints that will fade by morning, erased by wind and dew. But for now, they mark that you were here, that you saw, that you remembered. Above you, the stars continue their endless, silent dance. The same sky. The same earth. The same circle, unbroken. You stand at its edge, one heartbeat from the past, one breath from the present. And feel, deep in your bones, how far we have wandered. And yet, as the night folds around you, the wind carries a final whisper from the ashes. A voice as old as the first dawn, soft as the breath of the fire itself. You wouldn't last a day here, but if you could listen, truly listen, you might learn how to live again. The smoke drifts away. The fire sighs its last. And the world turns quietly toward another sunrise. A circle, eternal, waiting for you to remember. And so, as the night settles, may these echoes of the past guide you gently into dreams, and remind you that what is lost is never truly gone, only waiting to be heard once more.